Brown here. Today in this video I'm going to show you how to make Celosia, and I'm just going to bring it in here. This is what Celosia looks like. It's this beautiful, I'm going to call it a flower, I'm not sure if it is, but otherwise known as coxcomb. That's its common name. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So we're going to get our wire. Now, depending on the arrangement you're going to put it on, depends on how long you need your wire. I'm actually going to cut mine in half. Just to make it easier to handle while I'm showing you what to do. So I'm going to put a big hook in the end. Now this is a really strong wire, 18 gauge wire that we're using here. And then I've got some white paste. So we're going to mix the paste, make it nice and pliable to start with. And then it's a strange show. I'm going to break some off because we're going to need a little bit of that paste afterwards. And then the tools that you're going to need for this, I'm going into my little toolkit here. And I'm going to be using my small scissors and I think the spear-shaped tool. So just those two today, I think. But you never know, things may change. So we get those ready, and I'm going to make this. I'm making it in white because then I thought it'd be good fun just to airbrush it. So roll into a ball. And then, as you can see, it's quite chunky. I'm going to squash it a little bit, but then I need it to go into a triangle shape. So I'm just going to use my fingers to do this, just to make a kind of very rough triangular shape. Now right on the top of it, it has a very, very frilly edge. So what I'm going to do now is really press that edge out. So as you can see, I really try and stretch it out as much as I can, like so. And then we can get our rolling pin, which is also out of the kit. And I'm going to gently press the edges down. And that gives it a nice frilly edge. This is why it's called a coxcomb, because it's very similar to what cockerels would have on the top of their head. Now don't worry if you need to fold it over. That's perfectly fine, because we are actually going to add to this little bit as well. So we get that nice and thin. Really important to get it lovely and thin. And don't worry about any of the other bits just yet. Just get this bit nice and thin as we work it. This really is more like a modelling technique than an actual flower. Okay, so now we've got that beautiful edge. We want to actually add to that edge first. So I'm going to get a little roll of paste. Just make sure you've got no debris on the edge of your rolling pin. And then I'm going to press down and just roll out a little line. So I think I'm going to cut the paste in half, and we're going to do one either side. So I'm cutting, and I'm just doing this to even it out. It's not perfect, as you can see. I don't need it to be perfect, because in a moment we're going to roll over that and get it beautifully thin. And that's really going to add to the layers of this. Now this is in my book as well, the Q Book of Sugar Flowers. So you'll find the full written instructions there. So now what we're doing, we're using the pointed end and I'm pressing down to create that frill. So this is exactly the same as what I've just done along the top there. Just press down and give it a little roll, and we keep going as much as we can. And as you can see, it will all want to kind of frill up, but that's perfect because that's exactly what we want it to do, to add some more layers to this lovely little flower. If it does start sticking, you can always add a little bit of cornflour. We can take the end off as well if we don't want that. Now then, as you can see, that frills up beautifully, and I'm going to add that along this section here. So just a little bit of water, and I'm brushing it across, and then we're adding this. Now we do want this to be the same height, so when you're adding it, just make sure it doesn't go lower. And there you are, that's looking good. And then I'm just going to press that down a little bit. That's just going to help it all mould in and make it look like it's more like one big flower. So that's looking good so far, but I think what's really lovely is that we add another layer. So I'm going to put it up there so I don't flatten it too much. Again, come back to our strip and we make sure that there's no debris there. And then we can just start rolling. And sometimes it will want to roll around everything else. That's absolutely fine. As long as this very, very edge is really super fine, because that's the bit that we want to work on. And if it splits like it has just done, that's totally fine too. These are fascinating little flowers. And they can actually be quite large. Some of them can be sort of 4 or 5 inches. There we are. And then we're going to add that to the opposite side, which is this side here. Again, lots of water. I use water instead of edible glue, I just find it easier. And then I'm going to, again, make sure it's lined up so that you get that nice even finish. If you want to fold it around the ends, you can. Perfectly fine. And then with the rolling pin, we just give a little gentle roll. There we are. So you can see there, we have that wonderful sort of double layered frilliness. Now you can certainly add more to that if you wanted to. I tend to leave it as it is. And you can see that it's quite chunky and thick. That's actually what the flower is like. It is about 1 centimetre deep. So we're going to get our wire, and then we're going to push our wire in right in the centre. It's gone, oops. The wire has gone to just over halfway. And then I'm just going to bring that down. Now I'm rounding it off a little bit because we don't want corners and we don't want sharp edges. And if here you can see there's a little bit of paste that isn't glued, just add that little bit of water and rub over it, and I find that that helps it stick. I'm not too worried about the lumps and bumps in it, because you'll soon see we're going to get all those out in a second. But just as long as we've got that nice kind of shape going on and that lovely frilliness there. Okay, so this is where the fun begins. Now we have to be careful because we don't want to flatten our frill. So I am going to hold this into shape. And if I just bring over my book, you can see here that we've got a lovely red one that I've done. And I'm just showing you here how to put the fanes on. So all the full instructions are on here. But what I want to show you is this bit here, which are the scissors, which are really important. You need to hold them diagonally along the paste. So let's crack on. Now this bit is time consuming, but well worth it. So what we're going to do is lay the scissors along the paste and snip. And lots of snips. Now don't dig in, because you end up with that mark, which actually doesn't do anything. So lots of these all over and all the way to the bottom. Now they don't go all the way to the top. They actually stop about there. And then you get lots and lots of lines. So I'm just going to draw these lines in using the pointed end of my tool here, as you can see. So we're drawing these lines in first. And we're going all the way around to the side. And they overlap. They're not perfect in any shape or form. So those are all the lines. Make sure there are lots and lots of little snips all over this. We really want it covered well. And then again, with the same tool, I'm going to do lots and lots of lines. It kind of looks a bit brutal because you've just put all these lovely cuts in. They're not going to go too far. You're still going to see them. We're just kind of smoothing them down a little bit, really. So we just work all over. And we can go back and put a few little snips in if we want to. So these are sort of textured, can you see? Lovely textured things. And lots and lots and lots of lines. So I'm just making sure I do get all that detail in and all those lines. And we go back to the other side. Just keep going. Take your time with this. I'm trying to speed up and go a little bit faster for your sake, but take your time. And if it goes rough, like this is going rough, you can see, that's perfect because that is the texture we want. So please don't panic about that. But there you go. You can see, if I hold it from the side, how rough that is. Now, this is the tricky part. We want to do the other side, but without flattening it. And this is why we put it on the wire first. So I'm going to put my finger up here, and then I'm going to do those lines, remember? So lines right at the top, and they're going to come down maybe about 1 centimetre. So we do those little lines. And then once we've done that, again, all of these little snips, but lots and lots of snips. So you can see I've speeded up now. And this is what you'll do when you'll start feeling a little bit more comfortable with the scissors and the blade of them. So lots and lots and lots and lots of cuts. And down the sides as well, because we don't want to forget those. And then I'm just moving to the side, making sure I do get all everywhere. And I look at this side and I haven't flattened it, so that's fine. So I'm going to put my finger back where it was, and then again exactly the same technique. So we're just brushing over all of those lovely spikes. So just really careful not to go in the same area too many times. That can sometimes happen. So just be careful. Take your time and really play with that texture. We want to get it really rough because it is almost kind of furry and rough. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Around the sides as well. You can see my finger is still, I try and keep it to the top so that I don't flatten it too much. There we are. Okay, so I'm just taking off any excess bits that are sticking out way too much. If I'm looking and I think that something's a bit flat, then I'm going to snip again. If I see there's lines that are in the same place, I'm going to snip over them. So you can see we get that really rough looking texture. That bit's a bit too big, so I'm just getting rid of that bit. And then there I might have squashed it a little bit, so let's just kind of fluff it up a little bit using the scissors. There we are. These scissors are sold separately on my website too. And then just make sure that you don't lose that nice point as it comes down there. In fact, if you want to take a bit of that off, we can. There we are, just to make sure it does go down to that beautiful point. And there we are. Right, we are now ready to colour. Believe it or not, you've made your first coxcomb, otherwise known as Celosia. Now, for colours, I thought it would be really nice to use maybe an orange and a red this time. Okay, so then with your airbrush, you get a little bit of orange colour just in the top. And then you test to make sure the airbrush is working. And there's the colour. Now, I want to aim this just at the top here. So first we're doing the sides. Now, because it is so frilly, I'm turning it and trying to do it from different angles as we go. So there's one side done, and then I'm going to do exactly the same for the other side. So I'm kind of going down around, so I'm always moving the flower at the same time. There we are. You see, so that's a beautiful orange tip that we've got there, and then just right down the bottom. Now you can see it's starting to go a little bit wet, so I do need to leave that to dry. Now I'm actually going to take the orange out of my airbrush just by using the cleaning jar, and then we're going to put red in, and we can colour the rest of it. So even though the top bit's wet, we can still colour the rest of it. So just making sure it's a nice red colour. And then again, same technique. I'm doing nice circular motions on this one, and I'm colouring it gentle pink to start with. And we do need to do it from all different angles, because as you can see, it's you sometimes miss bits. So from this angle, and then also from this angle. And we can keep going as red as we want on there. But as soon as it starts going shiny, that's when we need to stop. So again, we're going from one angle, all over, and then the other angle. And there we are. I'm just getting that nice fine bit at the top, and there we have it, our Celosia. Now obviously you can do your colours however you want to. I just think it's quite nice to have that orange against the red. But I'm just going to tone it in a little bit going along the bottom, just a tiny bit. Can you see? So I'm aiming between both the ruffled edge and the rough edge, if you like, and I'm just gently adding a little bit of colour just to blend that in. And there we are, perfect. And then we leave to dry. Leave it to dry standing up so that you don't take any of the colour off, and then that will be beautiful. So that is how we make our Celosia, otherwise known as coxcomb. And as you can see, airbrushing it is just as good as using coloured paste, but you can use any colour. They have the most beautiful colours in this. I'm just really drawn to the reds and the oranges that they have. But thank you for watching this video, and I hope you can join me again soon.